What's up, everybody? I'm Metal Nick.
I'm Jeff Grunstifer.
And welcome to episode number 13 of Vinyl Bang.
13 episodes, dude. That's crazy. Like every episode, like whenever the number gets higher, it's just like, man, wow, we've been doing that this long.
I know. I can't wait till we do our 100th episode.
That'll be fun.
Hopefully by then Taylor Swift will be on board.
Hopefully Taylor Swift will be back. Hopefully Taylor Swift will be in the other room.
Today's episode is a very
do what?
Today's episode is a very unique one. Jeff, do you want to explain this great text message idea that you gave me?
Yeah, okay. So when Nick and I are coming up with ideas for episodes, we kind of, like, let's do certain years or let's do certain genres, and trying to come up with something rare and something different. Mm-hmm. I said, dude, a good idea would be, let's just go through each other's Discogs and just pick out 5 random records that would wouldn't fit into a certain genre or wouldn't come up into an episode for whatever reason. It's just kind of not really try to embarrass each other, but
explain yourself.
Explain yourself. Like, why do you own this? Or this is really cool. I want to hear the story behind why you own this record. So that's what this episode is going to be. Where Nick and I just picked 5 random records, and we're going to explain ourselves.
For sure. I was really excited when you threw that pitch to me, because I was like, oh my God, that's great. That is really fun. And, I know you've got some deep cuts in your collection, Jeff. So I was looking for some of them, and I found some cool stuff too. So do you want to kick this one off, or do you want me to kick this off? I'll start this off, actually. Jeff, I would like the first one that I picked, because this was neat for me. There's an album that when I was a kid, a buddy of mine, we went to the mall and he bought this CD, and I never heard of it. And the next thing I knew, the music video for I Got a Girl was all over the place. Tripping Daisy, I Am the Elastic Firecracker, I believe is the name of the record.
I Am an Elastic Firecracker.
There you go.
90% right. 90% right. This album, okay, Tripping Daisy, I Am an Elastic Firecracker was a big album for me in the 90s. Just like a lot of other people, I had discovered the band through the video for I Got a Girl. It kind of during the grunge movement, maybe a little after the grunge movement.
Definitely.
But it was,
Definitely. I was a freshman in high school, so this was like 95.
Yeah. Early to mid 90s. But this album, like, okay, Jamerson that I always talk about. Him and I were huge fans of this band, and I can't remember, like, growing up, him and I would buy a CD between the two of us, and we would share it or, split it back and forth. Like, we'd get every other weekend or visitation rights or whatever. But he bought a copy of this CD, and for whatever reason, he was he took the tray out where the CD sits. He took the tray out and found that there were lyrics for an album called Bill, which was the album before this that neither one of us knew about. But if you own this CD, or if you bought the CD during the 90s, or if you own it today or whatever, and if you never knew this, there's an Easter egg in this CD for the lyrics for the first album, Bill, which I guess was never included. And I never listened to the first album. I never listened to Bill. I haven't listened to anything from this band since. Mm-hmm. But there was a pretty cool Easter egg in that CD. This album, getting back to this album, I don't know why I got off on that whole tangent. It was really, really, really good. Trip Along is one of my favorites on this album. Mm-hmm. Piranha, Prick. It's a solid album from the 90s, and I still give this a lot of play. Before I got the record, I would listen to the streaming on Spotify or Bandcamp or whatever. Still a monumental album for me. This pressing in particular was the 4th time that this album had been pressed in 2022, and it has not been pressed since. I mean, there are only 4 pressings of this album, and I think the first one was like a promotional copy back in '95. But yeah, I found this on Amazon, I think, as well. Like it was like super cheap on Amazon, and I actually bought a copy for Jamerson and myself. I bought 2 copies the same day and gave one to him as a birthday or whatever kind of present it was, or just because it was Tuesday, I gave him a copy of this album because he had to have it. But yeah, this is monumental album. I am an elastic firecracker. Like I said, I'm not well versed in any of their other albums in their catalog, but had to have this album on vinyl.
Yeah, I remember, quick story, back in the Lamb of God message board days, somebody had, on another message board that I was on, somebody had posted a video for a band called the Polyphonic Spree, and they were covering that song Lithium by Nirvana. And it was like this giant like orchestra of people, of like vocalists singing that song. And I remember posting it on the Lamb of God board, and you had came out and was like, "That's the singer of the band Tripping Daisy." And I was like, "No shit." And like that fact right there blew me away. And I was like, and the fact that you knew who that band was, I was like, "Wow, Jeff, that's pretty fucking awesome."
Yeah.
So cool, man. I'm glad you have that in your collection. That maybe I should go back and give that album a listen.
It's good. It's good. I mean, it has its moments where it's not that great, but like I said, Prick, Trip Along, it's a great album. It really is a great album. And getting back to that Polyphonic Spree thing, that thing's amazing. That version of Lithium, like I'm usually indifferent about bands covering Nirvana or covering bands in general from my childhood, but that version is amazing.
Yeah.
Polyphonic Spree is.
I believe they were on an episode of that show Scrubs.
Really?
Yeah. They were like, because that show was kind of like theatrical at times, and there was an episode where they were on it.
Huh.
Yeah, YouTube it.
I didn't think I'd learn anything today. How about that?
All
right, Nick. So me going through your collection, the first thing that I came across was something that you'd gotten within the last year or so, because I remember you texting me and you'd be like, "Look what I found! Look what I found!" Made me mad. I'm still jealous of this album, but I want to hear and tell stories to go along with this album from whenever I was growing up. The No Alternative compilation.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yes, it was one of my record store shopping days with Blake Harrison. There are 2 covers to this. There's one with a little boy and one with a little girl. On the label there, it'll show you who all's on it. Matthew Sweet, Buffalo Tom, Soul Asylum, Urge Overkill, American Music Club, Goo Goo Dolls, Pavement, Smashing Pumpkins, Bob Mould, Sarah McLean, Soundgarden, Straight Jacket Fits, Barbara Manning, the Verlaines, Uncle Tupelo, Beastie Boys, the Breeders, Sonic Youth, Jonathan Richman, Patti Smith, and not mentioned on here is a band called Nirvana. And at the time, I believe I was told that the song was called Verse, Chorus, Verse, but it's now known as Sappy, correct?
I believe.
Yes.
Yes.
It was a hidden track on this record, and it was just a well-known fact to most of my friends who liked this kind of music, I guess, back in the day. I guess I was in maybe the 8th grade when this album came out. So it's a very cool record. It's a record store day release from I don't know what year, but it's got a live version of the new style by Beastie Boys on here, which it's very different from the album version, but it's really, really cool. I believe the whole reason I bought this as a kid was strictly for the Nirvana song. It was an unlisted song, a B-side that no one had ever really heard of before.
Right.
But cool record nonetheless. It was a very cool record store find. It wasn't cheap. I think I did a couple trades to get this one, but happy to have this in my collection. I'm sure you've got some fond memories of this when you were a young one, Jeff.
Absolutely. And like you, I think one of the big drawing points for me was the Nirvana track, along with Soundgarden and the Beastie Boys and Smash. What Pumpkin song is
on there? Glennis.
Yeah, I'd have to go back and listen to it. But like compilations back then.
Sarah McLachlan. There's like a lot of like random it's No Alternative. That's
Right.
what it is.
Right. Yeah, that was back whenever the show 120 Minutes was a thing. Back in the 90s, where I mean, watching shows like that on MTV, you would discover new bands, and having a compilation like that, especially in CD form back in the 90s, was a way to discover new bands. Like you buy a compilation for one band and then discover 2 or 3 more that you liked. But yeah, that No Alternative, that was as soon as I saw that, I mean, I was flashed directly back to the 90s, like being a fan of that,
Yeah.
buying it for the CD. And I think the CD cover I had the boy, I think. And is there a difference in them? Is there a difference in the tracks
I don't
with the
think
girl and the
so.
boy?
It's just a random. It's like the Stone Temple Pilots purple CD. One had the dragon scales and one had the cake icing.
Yeah,
No real
yeah.
difference. They had the same secret track at the end, but
Huh.
I believe it was just like people like you and me. You got to own both versions, right?
Yeah, collector's thing. Got to start them early.
Yeah, absolutely, right.
Right.
Okay. All right. Let's see here. So this next one that I'm going to pick for you is a record that I remember a buddy of mine had this CD, and it was cool because it wasn't a full length album. It was a random EP. But when I started collecting records, I saw that it was originally an Australian EP vinyl. And I believe, and I just was like, bullshit, Jeff has this. But I guess I saw it was a record store day re-release. So that makes it cool. But it is Nirvana Hormoning. And how the hell did you get this, Jeff?
I got this in a record store day in 2011. 2011 was the first year that I actually participated in record store day. And that was a really, really good year. Like the first year that I did participate in record store day, there was like 10 or 12 albums that I got from Vintage Vinyl in St. Louis that day. Jamerson and I, Brad Jameson and I, stood in line in front of Vintage Vinyl since like, I don't know, I think it was like 5 a.m, I think, waiting for the store to open. And there was just a list of albums that I had to have that day. And this was, I mean, going without saying, one of the ones that I absolutely had to have. This particular pressing was limited to 6,000 copies. As Nick stated, it was an Australian tour EP, and it even has the tour dates on the back. And it's a fun little collectible thing
for sure.
I don't know how many times this was pressed or bootlegs or whatever, but this particular one is really cool. The pressing itself is like a maroon,
pink.
You're gonna be pink, maroon marbled thing. But yeah, and I don't think I've ever even listened to this. It's never been on the turntable. Back whenever I got it, I didn't have a turntable, and then over the year, whenever I got the first record player that I had, it never went on it. And the new system or the new setup I have now, it's never been on. But I should absolutely one of these days throw this on just to see how it sounds, and But yeah, it's an absolutely cool thing to have. It's got the songs "Turnaround," "Aneurysm," "D7," "Son of a Gun," "Even in His Youth," and "Molly's Lips." And I will assume that these are just studio, like on the Incesticide audio. I would assume. I don't know.
Yep.
But
these were all songs. So like some of these songs were all like, most of these songs were on the singles for songs that were on Nevermind.
Oh, Nevermind. Yeah, they were B-sides for.
Yeah. So a buddy of mine had the CD of it, and like the cover of the CD was just like the Nevermind, like water, that they had throughout the album. And I remember he loved that song D7. Like whenever we go to the vending machine in high school and get anything, he would always pick D7 for that song, which ironically is not an original song. It's a Wipers cover. But he loved that song. That was his jam. He would play it on drums all the time. But yeah, that's a cool one to have because Nirvana, when Kurt had passed, they only had their 3 records plus the Incesticide and the Unplugged.
Unplugged, yeah.
And then they released like the live sold out or Live from the Muddy Banks of Wishkah, but it was years before we got like that with the Lights Out box set and that one song that was never heard, because there was a bunch of stuff like the Alcesticides. You and I were talking about this. There's a compilation, 7 CD compilation of outtakes and songs that just were never released. And I think that one song, You Ought to Know, was like well hidden, because that came out in 2002. And it's good that Nirvana kept stuff like that, because that is a music fan, for me to hear B-sides and stuff like that, it was really cool. And to see that you have that on vinyl is awesome, man, because the back of it, I didn't know it had all that Australian info on there. It's really neat stuff, man.
Pretty badass. Yeah. Okay. So moving on, the next random vinyl out of Nick's collection that I picked is the Macho Man Randy Savage Be a Man rap album. Just because, okay, first off, your obsession with wrestling, you've always been a wrestling fan, and it's a Macho Man rap
album. Yeah, this. I remember when this came out in, like, I don't know what the year it originally came out, was like 2002, I think. There it is. It came out years ago, and it was, this song "Be a Man" is a straight diss song that he wrote for Hulk Hogan, because he, in real life, he did not like Hulk Hogan. Some people say that they made up before he died, but there was a very long time where Macho Man did not like him. And there's a music video for this song where he's like, they got some dude dressed up like Hulk and he's just kicking his ass and everything. But this came out on Art Thou Bored Records. I don't know where the fuck that's. I saw Tony Foresta from Municipal Waste had posted this one day on his Instagram. This is a gray vinyl. He told me where to get it. I ordered it, and then maybe a year later, it got pressed for Record Store Day. And this one comes with this great poster of the Macho Man, and lyric sheets and all that. Nice. But yeah, when it got pressed on Record Store Day, that was just like, it's difficult as hell to get. Yeah, like you said, I bought this mostly because I'm a wrestling fan. I don't think this is like a phenomenal rap album in any way. It's just the fucking Macho Man. He fucking rules, Like, I don't think I would buy this if Hulk Hogan did one, but Macho Man was awesome. It's a rare thing to see on vinyl. Now that it's been actually pressed, like, it's a little harder to get. I think Newberry Comics pressed it recently too, but it's definitely something I want in my collection. I have a couple wrestling records in my collection where it's just entrance songs from wrestlers, but those are unofficial as well. But don't give a fuck. I'll own stuff like that,
Right.
Yeah, man.
Very cool.
My little Macho Man impression for you there.
It's that is something that I mean, I don't know if I've ever seen that in stores, or if I saw it on Record Store Day or whatever, but if I did, I just skipped over it because I'm not a wrestling enthusiast. I am not fan of listening to Macho Man Randy Savage rap, but like I said, that's why I picked this, because I wanted to hear your opinion of it and your enthusiasm for it, and it's very cool.
I can't justify it to be a great album, but it's I think you have to admit you may have a couple things in your collection that might not be the best album, but it's a collector's item that, oh fuck sure. Yeah, I'm gonna own this.
Absolutely.
So yeah. Moving on. I'm gonna go a little sideways here because I know we pick stuff in order the way I sent it to you, but I went up and down your list over and over, and there's a lot of the same albums.
A lot, yeah.
Because I wanted to. There's some of these things I was like, if I had to go through a particular pressing and I wanted to show it, but in the back of my head, I'm like, Jeff probably doesn't have this thing opened. So there was one particular artist that I kept going by as I went through all 83 pages of Jeff's Discogs. Yeah. There was an artist that kept capturing my eye that I had never heard of before, and I was like, you know what? This is going to be one of those explain yourself, because I've never heard of this. I'd like to know how, Jeff, you discovered this artist, what they sound like, because there were quite a few of those. There are, I think, 3 or 4 of these records in your collection. This particular one was a soundtrack. So if this band made a movie or something, let me know about it. It is The Residents' Icky Flicks.
Okay, so my story behind the Residents. I was always intrigued. I was never a fan. I never grew up listening to the Residents. I never was subjected to them through my circle of friends, which included Brad Jameson. Again,
Mm-hmm.
that's like the fourth time I've mentioned him in this episode. Now it's getting a little old. I was never subjected to him. I never grew up with him. I never saw videos on MTV, anything. What sparked my interest with them was in on Primus's "Sailing the Seas of Cheese." There's a line in the track. Can't remember the name. I cannot remember what song it is, but he said, "I would rather play Residents." Whenever he's talking about doing different things or whatever, when Claypool is talking about doing different things, he says, "But for me, I'd rather play Residents because or no, it was Pork Soda. It was Pork
Harold
Soda because he said, because I don't, for
the
me,
air's
I'd
getting
rather play Residents because I don't give a forgive me if I hesitate. It's incredible that the air is getting slippery.
air's getting slippery.
The air
Yeah.
is getting slippery as he mentions the Residents, and I'm like, who are the Residents? And it's always been in the back of my mind. Like I've always wanted to listen to this band. Throughout the years, I realized that the last track on Frizzle Fry, the track Constantinople Hello Skinny, is actually two songs from the Residents. Those songs are actual cover songs that the Residents played on their debut album, but they are listed here. There's Constantinople and Hello Skinny, which I always thought were Primus songs, but they are actually songs by the Residents. So, it's pretty cool. There came a point where I would go to record stores, and if I didn't find anything that I was interested in, if I didn't find something, like, oh, this is cool, I'd like to have this on vinyl, I would grab just a random album from either the Residents or Frank Zappa, because I've always been interested in in listening to Frank Zappa's collection as well as the Residents. And every Zappa album and every Residents album was because or every one that I own is because I went to a record store and couldn't find anything I wanted. So I just grabbed random, albums from these two artists. And this one, the one that Nick picked, just on a whim, just drew the name out of a hat, actually has these two songs that Primus covered on their debut album. So
I didn't plan that.
I know. I didn't figure you did, but you done good by picking this one because
they had a couple of them. Like I said, in your collection, there were a couple of them, but that particular one, it said it was a soundtrack. So can you explain what's that about?
Soundtrack. Okay. The soundtrack aspect of it was apparently this band did a lot of music videos over the years, and what this is like a best of. This is like a best of.
Okay.
Compilation of songs that they did videos for throughout the years, and it tells this whole big long story about blah 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 about how the beginning of it says, towards the end of the last millennium, some sorry soul suggested to the Residents that they release a compilation of their many award-winning music videos. So in a nutshell, this whole story
I got you
is saying that this is a compilation of songs that they released music videos for throughout the years.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I own this album, because it was just a random pickup. I'd go through, and generally every record store I would go to would have albums by the Residents or Frank Zappa. It never fails. And like I even do that now whenever I go to record stores. I look to see just if there's anything from the Residents or Zappa, just because.
Yeah, I'd never heard of that band before. I kept seeing that every time I was scrolling through your pages, and it sounded like a punk band's name, to be honest with you. So I was hoping, but I wanted to see what the genre was, but I was like, no, I'm just going to ask Jeff because I'm going to pick one of these random ones. This one says it's a soundtrack, so I'll ask him to do this one, and
these songs were recorded. The two songs that Primus covered, Constantinople and Hello Skinny, they were recorded in 1977.
Okay, so they're not a new band.
They've been around for a while. And I am not well versed in this band. Like whenever I would get an album, I'd come home and listen to it. They're weird.
Okay.
I mean, they're cool. They're very eclectic. They're very avant-garde, but like there's no specific genre for them. They are very experimental. a lot of noise, a lot of ambient, a lot of I mean, like they would wear these eyeballs on the character. Like these are them. These are the band members wearing these eyeballs. Like that was part of their on stage aesthetic, was that, you know, they were just weird and different. And yeah, they're worth checking out at least once. You know, I mean, aside from the Primus covering them on Frizzle Fry, you know, just to hear more of their musical abilities, grab a random album and just listen to it. Because I mean, I can't suggest anything, and I will not suggest an album from them to check out, but they're worth, you know, listening to just to experience something different.
Cool.
Pretty cool band. Different.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. So my next album, and this was one, whenever I saw this, I've never seen this pressing. I didn't even know that this album was even pressed on vinyl. But whenever I saw the picture of it, I was like, is that like a thing? I want to see this. I want to see what this is. My next pick for you is Meshuggah's Rare Tracks.
Oh, yes.
I have to see this thing. Look at that.
This is
so
it's
cool.
numbered.
What number you got? 224?
250. It was a Night of the Living Dead vinyl, right? Night of the Dead vinyl. I don't know how this fucking
Night of the Vinyl Dead.
Night of the Vinyl Dead, yeah. If you don't know about this, this was between Chaos Fear and Nothing. And I remember hearing that they were putting something out and being excited, thinking it was new Meshuggah, and it wasn't. This, I discovered some guy. I was in a vinyl group on Facebook that I met James Watson in, and some guy was bragging about his copy, and where it had the limited edition out of whatever. The guy who posted his, he must be friends with the guy who run this record label, because he had the guy's name like written down here where the number was instead of having a number, which I thought it would be like Jeff Grindstoffer, you know, limited edition Jeff Grindstoffer is like what his said basically. Yeah.
Well, you're gonna drop it. Oh, okay.
It comes out.
God, that is so cool. Like I've never seen anything like that.
No label.
Wow.
Let me try to.
Yeah, that thing, dude. I've never seen anything like. I mean, I'm sure I have, but just that is awesome.
I remember buying this record and being blown away by the first track on it, called War.
Yeah, dude.
Probably one of the craziest fucking songs Meshuggah's ever written. The first time I ever saw them, I met Thomas Hawk and asked him if they would play that song, and he did one of these. Are you crazy, man?
Right. I'm sure.
He said nobody can play that. You know, the story behind it was a song that Frederick Thorndahl, the guitarist, had programmed on drums and written and recorded, and you know, like it's probably like the thrashiest Meshuggah song out there, like the fastest one for sure.
Yeah.
But, God, this is a pain in the ass to put away.
Jesus, it looks like
this. Yeah, this was just a really cool find that I was able to get before it sold out, and yeah, Meshuggah did make this. There's 250 of them. I got number 224, so I was probably one of the last ones to get it before they really sold out of these. But like I said, the first track, War, it's got a Cadaverous Mastication, Sovereign Mobility, Depth of Nature by Emptiness, Don't Speak, a demo version of, oh man, I can't pronounce these goddamn song titles. Go look it up online. Meshuggah, you know, before they became the proggy band that they are right now, they were very thrashy and like almost like sounded like Metallica, like at least his vocals did in early days. But like, I fucking love this band to death. I wasn't that big of a fan of when they kind of slowed down and did the genty stuff that they do, that they're well known for now, that everyone has ripped them off on. But I still give this band all the props in the world. They're a very brilliant metal band, probably the most replicated metal band in the world. I think when I was going through your collection, Jeff, to find stuff, I saw that you even have some of their newer stuff. So that's intriguing that you still follow them. Like I kind of got burnt out by them the last few records. Like I love this band a lot. I got nothing but respect for them. I do think they are one of the most brilliant metal bands in the history of heavy music. This was a very cool one to find and own. Absolutely. Like I said, that song War might be one of my favorite songs by them.
Dude, that song is one of the heaviest songs ever written. I mean, just fast. I mean, it just, whenever it takes off, it just ridiculously fast.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to see it played live, but I would understand Thomas Hawk's reaction to, are you serious? War? No. We need 2 drummers for that.
He is 2 drummers.
I know. Thomas Hawk is an amazing drummer.
He absolutely is.
Whenever I saw that in collection, I never knew they released that on vinyl, let alone have that cutout, the die cut thing for the cover. Like,
it's cool.
I have to see this.
Very cool packaging for sure. Like I said, that one guy, he had his name like under the limited edition. He must be friends with the guy at the label, but it's cool. I'm happy to have that. I was, I have at least one of every album of theirs that I personally enjoyed, with the exception of Catch 33. I do not own that, and I really want that one. I like that one a lot. So moving on, my next album I'm going to pick for you. Again, I was going through your collection, and then I saw this, and I was like, I was a big fan of this album. This was a sophomore album by a band called Static X. Machine is the name of the record. I think you have the tattoo on your arm, maybe. Is it still there?
Yes.
Yeah. Dude, it was a good record.
That's a whole other story I don't want to get into, but yeah. I have the Static X logo on my arm. I got it after I had heard Wisconsin Death Threat for the first time, because when I heard that, it was crazy to me. It was the greatest thing I'd ever heard, and it was just so unique, and nobody was doing anything like it, and I was just so enthralled in this band. I was like, oh, dude, this fucking Static X are amazing, and they're never going to do anything wrong, and they're going to be the best band forever. And
unique is a good way to describe them. I agree.
Unique is definitely a good way to describe Static X, but overrated and whatever. I'm not a fan anymore. I like to get the tattoo covered up, but anyway, Machine is absolutely a phenomenal second record. It is. I wouldn't say, going back to the whole debut album versus sophomore, I wouldn't say this was better than Wisconsin Death Trip.
No.
But damn, it's a good album.
It's heavy.
The way it starts off with Bienvenidos, and I know I mispronounced that. Get to the Gone.
Get to the Gone. Yeah.
So good, dude. Even still, just like thinking about it gives me goosebumps.
I believe that song Cold is on this record.
Cold is on it. Black and White, Permanence. It just, again, solid album. Structural Defect, Shit in a Bag. Burn to Burn I wasn't crazy about. Machine's okay. Adios, Alma Perdida. It's for the most part, 85% of it is a great album. Is absolutely a great album. The artwork for this particular pressing, which this was, I didn't write down the year that this was pressed, but this was the press. I don't know if you can tell, but it's the logo here, or the cover art is like it's embossed.
Oh, cool! I could see it a little.
I'm trying to get in the light where you can kind of see that, but
yeah,
it's like raised off of the cover itself. But this pressing was supposed to be, is advertised as being 180 grams, but due to a factory mistake, it's only 125 grams, which, whatever, still good enough. But this is my pink copy. It's actually red, but I know it looks pink because, everything does. But yeah, this is a translucent red pressing, limited to 1,000 copies. I can't remember where I got this from. I think I got it from a store in St. Louis, but as soon as I saw it, I immediately grabbed it. There was no second thought. There was no, oh God, who sees me buying a Static X record? I didn't care. Had to have this on vinyl because this is just a phenomenal album. Definitely had to have this on vinyl in my collection.
For sure.
And would listen to it whoever was around, whoever saw me listening to Static X, whatever the scenario would be, a great album, absolutely a great album. I remember buying this the day it came out. I went to I was living in Louisiana, Missouri at the time. I drove to Hannibal, Missouri the night it came out, and was waiting in front of the store at midnight when they opened the doors, and bought Machine the night it was released.
Cool.
Great album. Great album.
Yeah. Great album indeed. I remember seeing them at Ozfest 99, and my buddy bought Wisconsin Death Trip, and I was just like, wow. Unique is the word I was going to use too, man. Very unique. Like, they sounded great. They had that metal blend with a little bit electronics, but it's a shame what happened to that band and members of that band and all that. And now, like you said, it's kind of like those first two records meant a lot to me as a kid. I was definitely a big fan of them and saw them live a few times, but yeah, man, Static X is great. I appreciate those two records at least. I don't know whatever they're doing nowadays. Good for them.
I saw them during the Wisconsin Death Trip tour. The funny thing about Ozfest, whenever they were playing Ozfest, before they went on stage, I saw Wayne walking around, and I didn't know who he was. I didn't know anything about him, but with his hair, and his beard and everything, I said, I want to meet that guy, and I went up to him. And he signed my ticket stub for that show, and I still have it's in a frame in my bedroom. But yeah, I have Wayne's autograph from the first time I ever saw them. Before I saw them perform live, I saw them at Mississippi Nights in St. Louis during the Wisconsin Death Trip tour. Amazing show. They were one of my favorite live bands back in the day. And now I don't care what they're doing now. What they're doing now is not for me, when people want to go see them.
You mentioned getting a tattoo of a band that you don't listen to anymore. I got a tattoo of a band called Amen. I'm sure you're familiar with them. They were on Roadrunner.
I remember Amen.
Yeah, like they were the first band to ever take me backstage and let me hang out with them, and they were nice as shit. Members of Snot were in that band.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I got a tattoo of a band I don't listen to anymore that I probably want to get covered up. So,
yeah.
Feel you, bro. You're not alone there.
You are not. There are dozens of us.
Yeah.
Dozens.
Yeah, for sure. Anyways.
All right. So I keep forgetting this is an interactive thing where I have to cue you in. I have to introduce the next album. Okay. So my fourth pick, I kind of went back and forth. It was between this one and a picture disc that we decided to nix in place of this album. This is the B-52s. I didn't write down the name of the album. I just said that we were going
Cosmic Thing.
Cosmic Thing. Yes. The B-52s. Cosmic Thing. Explain yourself.
All right. This was another record store pickup when I was out with Mr. Blake Harrison. And believe me, I got a lot of shit from him after taking this home.
I'm sure you did.
When I was a kid, this album came out. I think I was in maybe the second or third grade, but I remember my dad bought this on cassette because he really liked that song Love Shack. Mm-hmm. And we would drive in the car and listen to it. That song was all right, but the song Around the World was the one that I always thought was kind of cool. It was very catchy. And, I was just randomly in a record store one day, and I was just trying to fill up this I traded in a bunch of records and I had a bunch of credit at the store. So I was just looking around, and this was one of the things that I saw on the shelf that I was like, yeah, let me take this. Cause it's not, they're not one of those bands that I'm going to sit here and tell you this is the best album in the world. You got to buy this album. Right. There are two songs on this record that I really like. And unfortunately I haven't even opened this record. This is I don't know who put this out. MoFi. It says Mobile Fidelity Sound Lab. But on the back here, you can see number 221 out of, I don't know, 10,000 maybe.
Nice.
But, yeah, B-52s. I think when I was out in St. Louis, we were talking about this band, and you told me that you almost went and saw them in Vegas.
We were going to.
You were going to. Yes, you almost went to go see them when you were in Vegas. But yeah, I saw them live at a music festival when I was a kid in DC, HF Festival. They played I think the 98 year, but no, not a band that I'm going to sit here and tell you that I'm a huge fan of. It was just a random record that I was just like, yeah,
sure,
fill up some credit that I need so I can get out of this record store. But yeah,
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And in my defense, the going to see them in Vegas, they were just one of those bands that, like you know, I knew two songs, you know, grew up with them, you know, it just they're the B-52s, you know, they were just one of the bands I wanted to check off the old, you know, bucket list, like, you know, say, well, I say that I saw them, you know, I mean, I wasn't really gonna make a huge effort to go into it, and I told my wife, I said, well, we were in Vegas for, I don't even remember what we were in Vegas for. I remember we were there for music of some sort, and I said we should go see the B-52s, and she said, "Okay, that sounds fun." And she said she went through and looked at their entire catalog, and she's like, "We're not paying $150 per ticket to listen to the two songs that we know," which is, you know, fair, completely fair. So we did not see the B-52s, but if they were at a festival,
Yeah,
I'd watch a couple of songs. You know,
definitely, definitely,
I absolutely would because it's the B-52s.
for sure, for sure.
Yeah, cool, a cool record to have in your collection, Nick.
Yeah, it's not
Absolutely.
like I sit here and I'm gonna hold it up and it's not one that I would frame on my wall like you, but it's a record, you know, like it's one of those
Right.
ones as a kid that stood out to me that my dad liked, and I enjoyed listening to that a lot with him when I was a kid. It wasn't
Sure.
one of his favorite bands, certainly wasn't one of mine, but it was just like shit. This is here, and it's a low number on the, you know,
Right.
on the chart there, so I bought it. But all right. The last one that I picked for you, Jeff, is another band that I discovered from Ozfest, but this wasn't an album. This is one of their later albums, actually. And it's actually my favorite album by a band called System of a Down. The album is called Mesmerize.
Mesmerized. System of a
Yeah.
Down.
A lot of people like
Um,
Toxicity. I like this one.
yeah. This was this the later of the two? I don't remember
This
if Hypnotize or Mesmerize came out.
this came out first and then Hypnotize came
Then
out.
Hypnotize.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. This is I love System of a Down. I have ever since I first saw them at Ozfest in '98, and never knew who they were, and you know discovered them at that festival, and been a fan of them ever since. I've seen them, I don't know, 7 or 8 times throughout the years. I took my sister. Her very first concert was the Pledge of Allegiance tour, which was System of a Down, Slipknot, Rammstein, you know, whatever. But this album is a good one. It's you know, again, part of the collection of there was Mesmerized and Hypnotized. It's got some really good ones. They had a video for BYOB for Bring Your Own Bombs, and Cigarette's a fun song. Violent Pornography is absolutely one of my favorite System of a Down songs of all time. Sad Statue, Lost in Hollywood. It's a great album. Um, not a whole lot of story behind this. I think they did this is the one thing that I can say about this was the last official pressing from the band. They did like 17 or 18 different bootlegs, and I think there's 3 official pressings. The initial pressing was put out in 2004 when the album first came out. 2005, whenever the album first came out. Then they did a repress after that, and then they did this one in 2018.
Huh.
Yeah, this was the last official pressing from the label, from the band, from American, from Columbia. Yeah, yeah, great album. Um, again, it's your favorite, like out of the two, right?
So I remember a buddy of mine who passed away years ago. He bought that, and around the time when that album came out, I think most of us were pretty much done with like what we were calling new metal,
Right.
and we were mostly into like at that point death metal and grindcore and some thrash and all that. But that album came out. My buddy Marco had bought it, and that's one album that I could tell you from start to finish. Every single goddamn song was catchy as shit and had a hook to it. And I could wake up singing like Sad Statue of Liberty and all that shit. And then there's a song, my buddy Marco, he wanted to go to Hollywood to become a movie star. And he, unfortunately, things didn't work out for him like that. But that song about Hollywood at the end, old school Hollywood, always made me think about him every time I heard that song. And like I said, from start to finish, that was a catchy album. I know a lot of people like Toxicity. That was a great record too. Even the first album, I didn't like that song Spiders, but the first album was great. That album, Mesmerized, I loved it from start to finish. I thought that was such a great record. Very catchy, a lot of hooks in that record.
Right.
Hypnotize, I didn't care too much for it. It felt like felt like Darren was just being wild and crazy on that record. I don't know. It wasn't my thing. Like, I know a lot of people love that band and whatever, but like that was my favorite album. Like every song on that was just so like every year I listen to that album for like a month straight just because it's just like one of those ones that's so catchy and hooky to me. So
Oh, it is. It is. It's great. I'm a fan of everything they've done. I'm a fan. Even the Steal This album. You know, I mean, majority of it isn't the best, but it's got some really like Chicken Stew and 36 and just it's a great. I love this band. Love this band tremendously.
Sure. Great live band too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The last time we saw them in Vegas at Sick New World, it seemed like they weren't really like enthused to be there. Like, but I mean, we're all getting older, you know. Like they weren't as energetic as they were in '98. You know, the first time I saw them, or whenever they were opening band on the Summer Sanitarium tour in 2001 or 2002 when they opened for Metallica and Korn and
that was 2000.
The 2000 was that 2000? Yeah, that sounds about right. But yeah, just they weren't as energetic as they were back then. I think it probably wasn't fair to them that I was comparing them to 20 years ago, but it was just like, yeah, okay, you know, it's still System of a Down, it's still live, but
yeah,
wasn't. But anyway, all right. My last pick out of Nick's Discogs collection is an album I was never aware of. Never knew this thing existed. This thing is called An Exciting Evening with. I'm not even going to try to go through the names, dude. It's Beastie Boys, An Exciting Evening with
Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego.
There you go.
There
you go. This thing.
This is a 12-inch single of the song Shadrach. This is an OG pressing of it. This is the back. They always have like weird, cool shit on their stuff.
Mm.
I don't know. Yeah, in I don't know what year this was, 89. So it's a single for Shadrach, and then there's a song called Caught in the Middle of a Three-Way Mix. And then what you give is what you get. And the second side is Your Sister's Deaf. And then there's Car Thief, and then Some Dumb Cop Gave Me 2 Tickets Already. Just some random shit. I think there's like mixtures, like some of these songs, like the Caught in the Middle of a Three-Way Mix is kind of like a compilation of all the songs on Paul's Boutique, just giving you a little like feeler of what the album's like. But I think we talked about this on the sophomore albums episode. They did a music video for this, and it's very cool. They filmed a live show of them playing a lot of like stage dives and all that shit. But then MCA went back and like animated scene for scene everything from that music video, and then they made it. Like it's a live song with them performing, and it's pretty cool. This is a great song. Someone told me it's about their beef with Def Jam. I don't know if that's true or not, but this is really one of their more difficult songs because it's like them finishing each other's lines constantly and in a really unique way. Probably one of my more favorite songs off Paul's Boutique, actually. But yeah, Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego. This is a biblical story, and that's the three fellas there: Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego. Yeah. I have no meaning behind why I bought this other than the fact that I'm a Beastie Boys fan and I wanted to get this single because I like this album and I like this song and there was just random shit on the back that I'd never heard of. So I was like, let me see what it is. And it's, just mixed stuff that they do.
The song titles make it sound like some of their punk stuff, like they're just some old bullshit album, where it's all punk stuff. It's like, Some Dumb Cop Gave Me 2 Tickets Already. Like that sounds like a punk song, not like.
I believe they still had a very big punk mentality at this point. They always did, but like, yeah, I mean, if you look at most of the pictures of them when they were promoting this album, MCA was wearing his Bad Brains shirt, so they absolutely were. But yeah, this was an eBay find, actually.
Is that right?
Yeah. So.
That's very cool. Yeah, just like I said, I had to hear the story behind that because I was unaware of this I'm sure there's a lot of Beastie Boys stuff that I'm unaware of, but just that song or that title was like an exciting evening with who the hell are these guys? You know, like,
when they started Grand Royal, that's when like a lot of like we're just gonna drop random singles and without a label or with just on a sleeve and then just send them out to record stores. I think there's a story behind like the colors of the labels because like some people started bootlegging those years later, but yeah, they're like the Melvins. There's a lot of stuff that the Beastie Boys have put out, so it's
absolutely
not an easy thing, man. Especially their early punk stuff. But
yeah,
so yeah, that was a fun episode. I was really happy when you came to me with that idea. Moving on, we Jeff and I had met up last week for some unfortunate reasons. Like our good buddy Blake had passed away, and they did a memorial service for friends and family in Baltimore last weekend. And Jeff and his wife Melanie came out, and the next day we met up, and you, me, Adam Jarvis of Pig Destroyer, Misery Index, and Scour, we all went record store shopping. We went to lunch. We had a couple record stores, and the story behind these two little fellas that Jeff and I showed in the beginning of the episode, as we were checking out of our second record store, Jeff turned around and saw these, and these are the actual characters behind the title of Vinyl Bang, because they were finger bang guys, and we bought these. We thought this was the greatest thing. We got a picture of ourselves holding them up outside the store and everything, but we would have decided, today in this part of the new shit part of the episode, let's talk about that stuff that we got from that awesome day that we had.
Yeah, so the two record stores we went to in Baltimore, we went to Celebrated Summer first, like around noon before we went to lunch. Went to Celebrated Summer and got a few records there, and then we went to lunch with AJ, with Adam, and afterwards, Nick's like, "Oh, there's this other record store. You want to go check this out?" I'm like, "Sure." We have nothing going on today. We had Melanie and I were going to a musical the next night, but anyway, we're not getting into that whole story. We went to Soundgarden and spent an hour or so inside Soundgarden, and picked up some records, and it was fun. Record shopping with Nick is always an experience. It's always fun. Just go around and look through records and pick up records with Nick. But whenever we had AJ there with us, there was a lot of tomfoolery with AJ. Where he was like suggesting I buy a Frank Sinatra record, and he brought up this one that was called The Rascals, which was, of course, a reference to Blake because everybody was a rascal. But whenever we were all checking out a Soundgarden, for anybody who's never been to the Soundgarden in Baltimore, they have it's a very eclectic store. Like they sell socks, they sell coffee mugs, they sell, just all kinds of different stuff. Well, they had this section of the wall that was figures. They had like packages of figures, and they had just different things here and there, but they had these Funko Pops of different shows and series and characters or whatever, and there were two Funko Pops of the Finger Bang South Park characters. There was one for Kyle, which Nick has, and there was one for Stan. And whenever I picked them up and I showed my wife, I was so enthusiastic about these. She's like, "Give these here. I'll buy these. That way, you're not taking precedence and buying the Finger Bang or the Finger Bang characters." So my wife bought these two for us, and then proceeded to give them to us outside. Yeah, Melanie. Thank you, Melanie.
Shout out Melanie.
Shout out to Melanie, Mrs. the Grindstopher. But yeah, she bought us these characters, these figures, and now.
Can you see the little straps on his jacket there? I love that. The details are pretty nice.
Absolutely. And
so, do you want to talk about the records you picked up on that day first?
Sure.
Right.
We did a few records. Whenever we went to Celebrated Summer, one of the I'm losing my light here. I'm losing my. I don't know how I'm going to do this. Jesus, I'm not doing that. Okay, so one of the first records that I picked up from Celebrated Summer was a picture disc of the Daybreak album that Blake was a member of. I wanted to get something to commemorate Blake while we were on this trip, and the guitarist or the vocalist? What was Tony?
Tony was the vocalist.
The vocalist
You have
for
it in your hand right there. Look it up.
Well, I know, but I just make the story easier. This EP is called Frozen Wintered Realms of My Moonlit Record Collection.
I did this in the Blake tribute.
You did, but this was something that I picked up from Celebrated Summer. While we were at the Soundgarden, my wife had noticed these records that were on the wall, these high dollar rare pressings or whatever, and she, not me, she picked up this.
Wow. You bought it.
Yeah, this 7-inch Opeth record for the single for Still Day Beneath the Sun and Patterns in the Ivy 2. But yeah, she picked this up because she's an Opeth fan. Whenever we first got together, I was looking through her CD collection. I noticed that she had some Opeth CDs, and 19 years later, here we are, thanks to Opeth. Whenever we got married, our wedding invitations had the Opeth, this design on the wedding invitations, and it seemed like something we should have, so Melanie bought this 7-inch. As far as what I picked up from Celebrated Summer, this was the big thing for me. Like most people, I'm sure whenever they would look over this, they would think, what the hell is that thing? I saw it and immediately snatched it up. It is a Melvins 12-inch single that has two different eras of the Melvins lineup. It has the Big Business lineup, which also consisted of Jared Warren and Cody Willis, and then they had another lineup, which was King Buzzo, Dale Crover, and Kevin Romantis from the early days. But this was something that I immediately had to have. I've always known about this, being a Melvins fan throughout the years, and incredible find. And for $20, no less. It was no brainer. Had to have that. A couple of the other records that I bought that day, I got Decapitated, Nihility, just because it's a fucking phenomenal death metal album. Never owned a copy of that.
One of the best.
And I'm sorry?
One of the best death metal albums.
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. Decapitated was a big deal back in the day.
For sure.
And then my final vinyl that I got that day was a pre-owned copy of the new Queens of the Stone Age album in Times New Roman. I was always on the fence about getting this album because it's good. It's better than Villains, hands down better than Villains. But I was always on the fence about it. I saw them last year perform live, some of the songs live, and it translated real well live. So I kind of wanted to find a copy of it. $15. Yeah, I'll buy a copy of the new Queens of the Stone Age for $15. And it's in good condition. It's in really, really pristine condition. So very good purchase here of the new Queens of the Stone Age album. And then now go ahead and do yours from there, and then I'll do the.
No, go ahead. You got one more? Go for it.
I got two more. Two more from the Soundgarden. So here I got Sumac, which is just one song. It's a 12-inch single for one song that they did for, I think it was Adult Swim.
Oh, cool.
Something like that. Like they did a promotional thing for just one, like what Pig Destroyer did with the Octagonal Stairway. Yeah, brand new Sumac song. And a copy of the Monkeys, Pisces, Aquarius, Capricorn, and Jones, etc. I'm not a huge Monkeys fan, but they were part of my childhood growing up, and like watching the series, whatever. But Peter Percival Patterson's pet pig named Porky. That right there sold the deal, and it was only $15 for a sealed copy, brand new sealed copy of this Monkeys album. Had to have it. If nothing else, just on the strength of Peter Percival Patterson's pet pig named Porky. Had to have it. So there's my collection from last Monday in Baltimore.
Dude, we talked about this when I was came to visit you. I was a big Monkees fan too. The first concert I ever went to was the Monkees, and Weird Al Yankovic had opened up for them. But that's cool. It's really cool that you found that, and that crazy ass song title. I don't remember that at all. But
it's a spoken word. It is hilarious. It's awesome.
Yeah. I remember we were trying to watch a movie that they did that I had no idea about. That you were showing it to me when I was there.
Ed.
Yeah, I guess that was it. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much for sharing that, and again, thank you for thank Melanie for these were awesome, man. That was a blast. Moving on to what I got. I'm going to do a little mixture here. I'll start with what I got in Soundgarden. Unearth, the Stings of Conscience. This was a EP I saw when I saw them on my 21st birthday. They opened up for Lamb of God, and man, this band just impressed the shit out of me. They were fucking, playing solos behind their head and just fucking just great breakdowns and everything. I remember meeting the singer Trevor right after their set and just keeping in touch with him for a couple of years. The Endless EP came out after this, and I saw them live quite a few times when they were touring that Ozfest, all that stuff. This band blew the fuck up. They were a huge staple in the metalcore scene, I thought. But this was a cool find that we saw at Soundgarden. Also, I came across this, one of my favorite EPs of all time, Alice in Chains' Jar of Flies. I wish this was the one that was full of dead flies, but this is just a standard black pressing. Jeff and I were having a conversation the other day about the power of this EP. This is a very, very good album. I know a lot of people like Dirt or I'm sorry, what was the other one? Facelift. This is a great record, great EP. It's only 6 songs, but yeah, check this one out if you haven't. I Stay Away. That's a killer song.
No excuses.
Yeah, and it's remastered, so it sounds a little bit more crisp than the original. This is another one that I picked up at Celebrated Summer, Black Sabbath Mob Rules. Not a big Dios era Sabbath fan. A lot of people give me shit for saying that. I think Jason Netherton and my buddy Chris Ustella are always riding my ass about how good this album sounds. So I saw it there. It wasn't that expensive. I picked it up. I believe this is the first one they did with Dio. I could be wrong. Don't kill me, metalheads, for that. Next one here. Oh, these last two I'll sit here. This was something I found at Celebrated Summer. This is a Misery Index Overthrown EP, the green vinyl. I can't believe I don't even own this on record. It's actually Overthrown plus bonus live radio set stuff, which I remember there's like you hear Kevin Talley scream something in the mic at the end of it. I always laughed at that. Jeff, you showed me this when we were in Soundgarden. Glad to grab it because I do not own this on vinyl. Cephalic Carnage, Xenosapien. It's the red vinyl.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a really cool album. That A Vistitude song. I think Jason Netherton's on that song. I don't remember which one he's on. But I just love the way that song ends, and then it goes silent for a while, then you can hear Leonard just talking, and then he comes back in and finishes it. And that the bonus track is untitled, but it's a very cool doomy song. I believe this was the last one they did with Zach, but this was a cool record. I remember waiting a while, a couple of years after I got into them for this to come out. Thank you very much for pointing this out to me, Jeff, because something I definitely needed in my collection.
Sure.
When we pulled up to Soundgarden, Adam had told me that he had some Pig Destroyer records, and if you want to grab one, I grabbed another copy of Phantom Limb. This was the first one that Blake was on. This is I think Coke Bottle Blue or something weird like that.
Nice.
Yeah. I've always been a big fan of the artwork of this. This is John Dyer Baisley. As you don't know, he's the singer of Baroness, singer-guitarist of Baroness, but he drew this, and it's cool stuff. I like this album a lot. This was a fun one. There's a really nice sample at the end of that song, Lesser Animal, that just makes my skin crawl. And then Lockup, The Dregs of Hades. Is that what it's called? It's another record that Adam gave me. Me and Adam did a little trade, actually. I gave him a copy of The Haunted Made Me Do It, and he pulled one of his records that I don't own. This is a red vinyl of the latest Lockup album that Adam was on. And thank you, Adam, for the free music. Very cool stuff, He made that day very fun for me and Jeff. We paid for our lunch, and we had, like I said, coming to Baltimore, it wasn't one of the trips that Jeff wanted to make, unfortunately, but we got to hang out with some good people that weekend and do a very fun thing with Adam that day. And then we snapped some cool photos, and we'll throw those up for you at the end of the show for sure. But yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Shout out to AJ again for being one of the greatest human beings on the planet.
Absolutely, Adam. Thank you for everything that day. That was a fun time. Thank you to Jeff, Melanie, Christopher for helping us get our little buds here. This is definitely a fun thing there. I really appreciate that. You know,
He looks just like me.
Huh?
He looks just like me.
But yeah. Thank you so much, everybody, watching this episode of Vinyl Bang. This was a very fun one, and yeah. Thank you very much.
It was a fun episode. Yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna come up with anything quite as unique as spying on each other's Discogs collections again, but you know, this one turned out well, I think.
It did. I liked it. No, that was fun. It was a good idea. That really was. But we should do it again one day.
We'll see.
That wasn't a bad idea. All right. Thanks everybody for watching.
All right. See you guys.